Investigators say the suspects in the Boston bombing had a different target in mind. Not the marathon, but an attack on the upcoming 4th of July celebrations.
The government is hoping to find more information about the bombers from a notebook computer that they've recovered. Charlene Israel has the story.
The Boston plot continues to unravel. Authorities say the surviving suspect, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, told investigators that the original target was a Boston 4th of July celebration. But he and his brother Tamerlan finished building their bombs sooner than expected. That's when they decided to attack the Boston Marathon instead. And another development in the case. Feds say they've recovered Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's laptop. 3 of Dzhokhar's friends have been accused of throwing away and withholding evidence and information. But one of their attorneys says his client handed the laptop over the first time agents came to see him.
I'm not sure a 19-year-old college student understands the gravity of such a situation like this. And they did not intentionally or knowingly destroy evidence.
The 3 friends face a maximum sentence of between 5 and 8 years in jail if convicted.
He was a good kid, definitely a good kid, and I guarantee you that he most likely had no knowledge of what he was doing. He made a stupid decision because he knew the guy.
Meanwhile, investigators have a new link to radical Islamic terrorists. Dzhokhar confessed that he and his brother watched internet sermons of American al-Qaeda cleric Anwar al-Awlaki. And authorities continue to investigate a 2012 trip that Tamerlan Tsarnaev took to Dagestan, Russia. They say he met with known Islamist militants while he was there. Feds are also investigating a post-bomb phone call Tamerlan made to his wife, Catherine Russell. She denies having any knowledge of the attacks. Charlene Israel, CBN News.
This case keeps getting more curious as the details come out, but you wonder if those bombs had gone off in the middle of a July 4th celebration, how much worse the carnage would have been. Well, President Obama promises he's not giving up the fight for new gun control laws. Lee Webb has that story from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Gordon, the president says the defeat of the most recent gun control bill was just the first round in a longer fight. The president said in Mexico Thursday that it takes time to get things done in Washington, and he believes a measure will pass eventually. But many Republicans and some Democrats are solid opponents of new gun control laws. The U.S. is calling on North Korea to release a Korean American sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. Kenneth Bae is a devout Christian from Washington State.
Part of our concern here, and we've had longstanding concerns about the lack of transparency and due process in the North Korean legal system. We urge the DPRK authorities to grant Mr. Bae amnesty and immediate release.
Bae was arrested in November near the border of China and Russia. He is accused of committing what North Korea describes as hostile acts against the state. But it's believed his sentencing is nothing more than a political ploy by the North Korean regime. Bae is the 6th American, though, held there since 2009. Rhode Island is now the 10th state to legalize gay marriage. Governor Lincoln Chafee signed the bill on the steps of the State House Thursday. The measure goes into effect August 1st. Gay marriage is already legal in all of the other New England states, and we will have an in-depth look at the future of marriage in America in just a few minutes here on the 700 Club. Well, Thursday marked the 62nd annual National Day of Prayer. Millions of Americans participated coast to coast. But the main event took place in the halls of the U.S. Capitol, and John Jessup was there.
And forgive us, mighty God.
From near and far.
We flew in from LAX Airport in Los Angeles.
I'm from Calvary Christian School, which is a small private school in Oak Ridge, New Jersey.
People packed into the U.S. Capitol in Washington to pray for America, the motto for this year's annual observance. It started 62 years ago here in the States, and organizers say it's now grown to include more than 42,000 prayer gatherings across the country. In this crowd, some familiar faces like Vonette Bright, James and Shirley Dobson, and the legendary Pat Boone.
God, we cry out to you.
Together, they prayed for repentance, for blessing, and for our leaders in the military and the judicial, legislative, and executive branches of government, all of which were represented. Barry Black, chaplain of the Senate, urged people to stop praying for just themselves and to start praying for their leaders, even if they disagree with their politics.
Pray for all people because our blessed Lord desires all men and women to be saved.
Many voiced concerns about a culture slipping further away from its Christian roots, a topic addressed by keynote speaker Greg Laurie, pastor of Harvest Christian Fellowship.
Revive your work as you did in days gone by. Show us your power to save us. And that's what we need to pray, Lord. Do it again.
But gay rights activists denounced Laurie's participation, citing his, quote, blatantly anti-LGBT message and calling it, quote, out of step with what the majority of people of faith across the country believe. But supporters say Laurie's only guilty of preaching the Bible.
In spite of what they see, people here say they have hope because of prayer, and they look forward to the future and coming back together to pray again this time next year. John Jessup, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
It's always a great event, Gordon.
It is, and we encourage people to pray, not just on the National Day of Prayer, but on a daily basis. Pray for America, pray for our leadership, pray for our culture. I think now more than ever, we all need to join together in prayer.
Maryland is the latest state to abolish the death penalty. Democratic Governor Martin O'Malley signed a bill Thursday repealing the law and replacing it with life in prison without parole. Maryland is the 18th state to ban the death penalty in the U.S., the first south of the Mason-Dixon line. Operation Blessing International is helping African farmers buy and raise livestock. It helped a young widow who was struggling to keep her 7 children fed and sheltered. Herrera received a microloan from Operation Blessing to purchase a cow and 3 sheep, all part of an animal fattening project supported by Operation Blessing. Eventually, Herrera was able to sell her fattened cow at a profit. She was also able to plant crops like peanuts, millet, corn, and beans, and she plans to invest in more livestock and begin her own business selling spices. You can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to its website at ob.org.